Mother Knows Death, starring Nicole and Jemmy and Maria Q. Kane.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Mother Knows Death. As usual, we have a lot of news stories for you this week, including the surprising death of Malcolm-Jamal Warner, and Ozzy Osbourne died. I don't know if that's exactly a shocking death, but it still is an icon of my childhood, so super bummed out about that. We have an update on the Air India plane crash, a freak accident involving a man who was sucked into an MRI machine, a surrogacy scam, a flesh-eating bacteria that is killing people in the South, and an episode of Mother Knows Death wouldn't be complete without talking about a little diarrhea on a cruise ship. All that and more on today's episode. Let's get started with this news of Ozzy Osbourne.
You're saying it's not that sudden. Like, I'm a little surprised by this. He's 76.
His life was outrageous. It's amazing that he's made it to 76 years old.
He is 76 years old, so as of we're recording this, I mean, this is like pretty breaking news, so they haven't released a cause of death yet, but we know he lived a hard lifestyle. But at the same time, I haven't heard...
He literally, like, bit the head off of a bat.
Well, when you put it that way, I guess it's pretty not surprising, but I don't know. I feel like typically you hear rumblings like, we're going to talk about Connie Francis tomorrow, for example. Like, I saw on TMZ last week that she was in the hospital. So, like, I wasn't that surprised when subsequently she had died, right? But in this case...
Yeah, and it sucks because I just saw within the past couple of weeks, he did his last show, and that was cute. And then his daughter, Kelly, who we love from Fashion Police. God, I love that show and miss that show so much, and Joan Rivers. But, she had just gotten engaged to her fiance now that at the last night of his concert, I guess it was all over online that she was really shocked about it. So it was really cool that he got to see, at least had his last show and got to see his daughter get engaged. But I mean, 76 is still kind of on the younger side to die, but he definitely lived a huge life, a crazy life, a fast life. So he got a good chance at life considering his lifestyle for sure.
I mean, you're right. I don't know. It's just always still surprising.
Like sometimes you would just see, even when I just was seeing him in footage I'm like, God, that guy could still stand on stage and do a tour. And like, geez, he's still alive. Like,
that's how I felt.
It's just shocking.
I think I saw Willie Nelson in like 2014, and I think the week before the concert they were like, oh, happy 82nd birthday, and I was like, this guy is gonna die before I see him play at the Borgata in Atlantic City next week, and he's still playing all these years later. Dude's in his mid-90s still playing concerts.
It's so crazy. Like, I saw Ozzy Osbourne. He used to do this thing called the Ozfest. I swear to God, it was 25 years ago. Like, I don't even know how long ago it was. It was in the late 90s or early 2000s or something. I don't even know. It's just absolutely no. It was in the late 90s that I went, because it was before I even went to school. It's just so crazy to think that the guy just did his last tour a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
I mean, I imagine it's a lot, even though you're used to it and this is what your life has been. I just still imagine it's a lot for an older person to do, even though, as my dad would say, they never worked a day in their life with their hands so they could do stuff when they're old. Still, it's anxiety. It's just the stress of being on the road, staying in hotels and things like that. So, it's just like a bummer. I don't even know what to say. Well, he was having Parkinson's disease or something like that for sure. So I don't know what the circumstances were about his death, but we'll get into it more once we get more details.
Yeah, let's get into there's just like a million celebrity deaths this week also.
This one's another one that's just so freaking upsetting.
So Malcolm-Jamal Warner, a.k.a. Theo Huxtable from The Cosby Show, was on vacation with his family in Costa Rica. They were at the beach, and while he was swimming, he got caught up in a high current and died.
Yeah, I think a lot of people have this misconception about deaths in water. and they think, number one, that it's going to be really, really loud. They think it can't happen to them. They think that if you know how to swim, it can't happen to you. And as we see all the time, that is not the case. And going in the water is one of the funnest things that you could do in your life, but you have to really take caution, especially when traveling abroad like that.
Yeah, I got confused at first was because when I'm reading the results, I'm thinking he drowned, but the result or the reporting is saying that he died as a result of asphyxiation by submersion. So is that just a fancy way of saying he drowned?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, what happened was, and this could happen around here too, is when you look at the ocean on the shoreline, it has this appearance that's like white and foamy and little waves at the bottom, right? If you see an area when you're looking at the beach that looks totally clear, a lot of people might flock to that area because they think, oh, I'm going to stand there because there's not a lot of waves and it's not going to knock me over. When in fact, it's almost the complete opposite, and you could get pulled out to sea literally that way. And what happens is people automatically, it's just natural instinct, start freaking out because they're in a situation that they've never been in and they don't know what to do. And unfortunately, sometimes the muscles in their legs could get weakened and they can't stay above water, or they just get pulled out too far. They're just not able to get out of the current and they end up drowning. Now, this happens at our shore all the time. You hear about it on the news almost every single day, especially in the summer down at the Jersey Shore. And this is why it's super important to go to a beach that has a lifeguard because, number one, they're in those higher towers so they could really see where the rip currents are and they'll tell people to stay away from them. But number two, you're told if you ever get sucked into one of these currents that you should try to swim to the side and just get out of it. And even it doesn't matter how far out in the ocean you end up being. And a lot of people get scared about that they don't want to go out too far because they're going to have a hard time getting back. But if you're able to get out of that current and stay above water, you have a much higher chance of surviving. And then if you are at a beach that has a lifeguard, they will see you and be able to go out there and get you. They're
Yeah.
trained to do that. And a normal average person that swims in a pool, it just isn't trained to do that.
Yeah, it was important to note that there was no lifeguard on the beach where he was at, and another person got drug in the current too, correct? But they survived.
And we don't know who that person is. All we know is that the paramedics were called to the beach for two different people that had been pulled into a current at that same exact time. And Malcolm-Jamal Warner, unfortunately, they tried to resuscitate him and they were not able to. And the other person did survive and was brought to the hospital, and we don't know their current condition right now.
It's just so terrible to think you're on vacation and something like this happens and then it ends up resulting in tragedy. And of course, he was this really beloved figure on what's now, I think, maybe considered a controversial show because of everything that went down with Bill Cosby. And of course, he couldn't help himself and he had to speak out about it. And it's like, I don't think we need to hear from you, dude. Like, please respectfully go away.
Go away, exactly. You know, we never talk about Bill Cosby on this show. That I saw a special, I guess Nancy Grace did a couple years ago with the whole Bill Cosby thing, and it's so messed up.
Well, it's messed up, and he got out of prison, which is messed up, and it doesn't.
Yeah, the whole thing was.
Yeah, like I don't want to get too much into it because I don't know all the details off the top of my head while we're recording this, and I don't want to like stop to like look everything up. But
It's irrelevant. It's just annoying that he feels that he even has to make a statement or anybody cares what he has to say. I was watching Fresh Prince of Bel-Air with the girls recently, and in the episode Malcolm-Jamal Warner comes in as did a cameo, right?
mm-hmm.
And the whole audience is like screaming their head off, right? Because so the girls are like, who's that? I was like, dude, that's Theo Huxtable. What are you talking about right now? Of course they don't know because we never watched the Cosby Show. Well, they didn't, being older, just because it sucks because that would definitely be in our rotation, but just like I can't because of him. I just like I'm skeeved out by him.
Yeah.
But anyway, the whole point of me saying this is that like that dude, there's very few actors in the world where every single person when everyone heard the news this weekend that he died, everyone was like, "Oh man, I love him." Like it's just rare to have that reputation in Hollywood. That can you really think of any person that's going to be that dude sucks? Like no, it's not. It's not going to happen, right? So it's really unfortunate that he died, and also sad at the same time because he's like kind of around my age, just like weird part of a generation going. The whole thing's really sad, but as far as an autopsy goes with him, it's a little bit different in this case with Malcolm-Jamal Warner because there were witnesses there. So everyone knows that he went into the water and he was caught in a car and he drowned, right? Um so sometimes people say like, "Well, why are you going to do an autopsy on someone that everybody watched drown? We know why he died." But oftentimes they want to do it to see if there was any underlying cause, like did he have a heart attack and that incapacitated him or something like that. So they're going to check for that, and they're going to check for things that you would see in drowning cases, like sometimes you could see foam coming out of the mouth when he's pulled to shore, and it would be something similar that you would see in an opioid death. And that's because the protein in the lungs, when the person is trying to make their last breaths mixed with the protein in their lungs and the little bit of air that they're able to get in, when it mixes together, it makes a foam, which it comes out of the lungs into the trachea, and then it comes out of the mouth. So oftentimes you could see it in the mouth, but at autopsy, when you open them up too, you'll see that number one, their lungs can be hyperinflated, so they could be touching each other and just look really full. And then number two, that you'll see that foam within the lungs and the trachea, as well as the stomach. You could see water too, because when a person's gasping for air, they could breathe in water, and not only does it go into their lungs, but it also goes in their esophagus into their stomach.
Yeah, it's interesting that you're saying like all these people will witness it, but obviously they'd have to do that anyway. And I don't think we're gonna see those, because are they gonna do toxicology too?
Yeah,
or...
they'll do toxicology for sure. But I mean, they should. This is in Costa Rica. I don't know what their rules are. If this happened in America, 100% they'd still do toxicology. But I mean, it's just a tragic accident. So many people. We're going to talk about drowning a lot this week. Unfortunately, the statistics are just very high for drowning. It's more common in children than adults, but certainly I was working on my lecture for CrimeCon, and I don't want to give away, but I was talking about a certain actress that died drowning, and they didn't really know why she died, or she was just with her son, and then she was found in the water days later, and they did the autopsy and confirmed that she drowned. But she had rented a boat with her son to go swimming in the ocean, or in the lake that they were at. And so to me, I'm like, she does that all the time. She goes in water all the time and swims. And I do too, right? So I'm just kind of like, God, that's scary. But you just never know what happened. And the story with her is that she helped her son get on the boat, and then she couldn't get back in the boat. And it just could be that she could have just wore herself out too much. When you go in the pool, when you go get out of the pool, you're like, oh my God, I'm so tired. You have the best night's sleep. You're like working a lot of your muscles, and people don't realize that,
Yeah, of course. All right, let's move on to this Air India crash. So the preliminary report has come out for this fatal crash that happened in India. We reported it only a couple of weeks ago, and it's looking like it was intentional, which is very disturbing.
Well, I don't know if they're going as far as saying that it's intentional. I think they're saying that there's suspicious things that seem to have been done about cutting some fuel lines that a lot of pilots would agree isn't something that would be protocol, but they're not going as far as to say that, okay, 100% was intentional, and that information might not come out for a year.
Well, that's why I was saying it was looking intentional, not that it was definitively intentional. So as a reminder, this flight took off, and seconds after it crashed into a town right next to the airport. 260 people died. There was one survivor, which we questioned, but...
Well, this is what I was going to say. This is the second scandal of this airplane crash. The first being the guy that they say survived, which I just still don't believe. Well, coming out of a plume of black smoke with a white T-shirt on his phone. I don't know.
people got pretty upset by that accusation. But the black box was recovered and revealed that both fuel engine switches were suddenly cut off, which cuts the fuel to the engines and caused the plane to lose power. So there was a snippet of a recorded conversation on the black box where one pilot asked the other, why did he cut the fuel? And the other guy said he didn't, and then the plane crashed very suddenly. So I had listened to another podcast where some experts were talking about it recently, and my understanding is that if the pilot had intentionally cut off the fuel while they were mid-flight, and the second pilot realized it as quickly as this guy did in this case, the plane essentially would have been able to regain the momentum that it wouldn't have been an issue. But because in this case it was so quickly after takeoff and the guy didn't realize it for a couple seconds, it was not enough time. And the other pilot did end up turning the switches back on, but only one of the engines was able to turn on, not the other. So that's what caused the crash.
I don't understand, like, obviously I don't understand how an airplane works. I could see that there might be a reason that you would need to cut a fuel line if there was a fire. Or I don't know, like, what would be the reasoning to ever do it. And I don't know that much about how airplanes work, but it seems obviously very suspicious, especially if the pilot was like, why did you do this? Because that means to me that that's not something they typically do.
Well, yeah, I don't really understand the dynamics of this either. Obviously, I'm not a pilot, and I don't think I'll ever reach the education to understand fully how these buttons work. I mean, have you ever seen a picture of the cockpit of an airplane? There's like
it gives me anxiety.
Buttons in there.
It gives me so much anxiety. I look at it. It's the same thing when I go to like the Kennedy Space Center for NASA, and I look at the inside of what a rocket would be and all. Because I mean, I guess it's like on a similar thing. They're doing a flight with an aircraft kind of thing. And I just look at all the buttons and I'm like, these people are so smart. Like, how do they know what all of these things do? And having to learn all that is just outrageous to me.
Well, that's why I think it's extra impressive that the other pilot immediately looked at it and was like, something's not right. But they have these little brackets in front of the button so they can't just accidentally hit them. I mean, it seems like you have to pull it and then turn it, which is, I guess, why they're alluding that it may be intentional, because it's not quite like you can just accidentally hit your hand and do it.
Yeah, I
right?
get that.
So there's kind of like too many steps, even though they could be done very quickly, to do it without knowledge of what you're doing. Of course, all these conspiracies are coming out because even though they're saying this guy passed his health check, there's maybe reports that he had some mental health issues in the past, but that's not confirmed. And this report is very preliminary. I mean, airplane investigations typically take a year, couple years, like you're saying. So I don't think we're going to know 100%.
It's actually a really interesting conversation to have about pilots and listening to some of these interviews done with pilots saying that if they go to anyone to tell them that they're having any kind of problem in their life, whether it's financial troubles, problems with their wives, divorce, mental health things, they automatically will not let them fly. So that would make it more pilots more hesitant to talk about having a problem because they don't want to lose the ability to fly. That's what they do for a living. So it's I don't know how you fix that, but it is a scary thing to think that a person has your life in their hands like that and would intentionally try to take you down with them.
Yeah, of course, because I mean, this was a mass casualty event, so you want to hope that wasn't the intention behind it, especially if this guy was planning this, like, I mean, we're just speculating here, but I'm just saying, if he was planning this, like, crazy mass suicide murder, it's very terrifying to think that something like this could happen, and it's as easy as just, like, flicking a switch, right?
Yeah, and I don't know, I mean, it could be, I mean, obviously anything is possible, and a person could be some kind of sicko that wants to do something like that. I would think, though, it could also just be more like of an impulsive decision and not really like more about themselves rather than the people that were with them. I don't know. Like,
yeah, because some aviation experts were saying, I mean, a lot of people don't agree with this, but some aviation experts were saying that it could have just been a very quick, poor judgment call. I mean, again, we don't know what these buttons are used for, so we don't know if they're typically used in a normal flight, and if he just chose to engaged with them at the wrong time or what exactly happened. And I guess a lot of people are upset with the preliminary report because, I mean, I'm over here also thinking the worst, that it's something intentional. But the point of putting it out so quickly is to, I guess, reassure people going on these same planes, which was a Boeing aircraft, that
Your
there's nothing
favorite.
wrong, that there is nothing wrong with the plane, and to not fear about going on this aircraft. So I understand that, but they're like, it's too early to say if this guy did it intentionally. You don't know what happened. They're not releasing all of the information, obviously. I mean, the investigation is going to take a while, but
There's just no way around this. They're either saying, okay, our pilots might kill you in a mass suicide murder, or our planes suck and they're broke. Like, there's like, which one's better? I
yeah.
honestly would rather them say, oh, okay, we found something wrong with the plane, so they could just like fix those planes
I mean, I
rather
guess,
than like it be a personal thing.
and then I guess option C is that the person made a judgment error, which that's concerning to have a pilot in the airplane that made a judgment
Yeah.
error like that. So, what is it? No, in no scenario is this okay. Obviously, all these people are dead.
No. I mean, this is like a hard PR crisis. What like that they're gonna have to deal with. There's just like no easy way to describe what happened here.
I mean, Boeing's been in a PR crisis for at least the last couple of years. Last year in particular, there was just like story after story after story. And I'm like, we even stopped covering them at some point, because while I'm fascinated by air crash accidents and like amusement accidents and stuff, I like covering those stories the best because they just fascinate me
Oh,
more.
there was like 2 or 3 incidents this week too.
Yeah.
One of them, there was like a close call with a military jet. Another one that one of the engines was on fire, I think, of a Delta flight. Like,
yeah, Delta engine caught on fire, and like luckily nothing bad happened from that. They were able to make an emergency landing, and then the other flight had to dodge this other aircraft that would have been a horrific collision. So,
did you actually? So I guess the news didn't report on this, on that particular thing. And what happened was a woman was filming it and put it on TikTok or Instagram or something. And that's how people found out that happened. Everybody should try to find the video that this woman recorded, because I thought it was really interesting what the pilot was saying overhead. Like, giving way too much information, in my opinion. I mean, he was trying to cover his ass, I guess, but she had the phone on her lap, and you could just overhear the pilot talking on the intercom, and it was just like, oh, I'm sorry, I just had to divert like that, but there was this plane coming and we didn't know, and they should have known, and I don't know why they didn't tell us. And like, I'm like, why are you giving them so much information right now? It was kind of weird.
because maybe he's like, I don't want this possibly being blamed on me.
Yeah, he was like, F this, I'm putting all our dirty laundry out there. That's how it was, kind of, and it's
well, did we not?
shocking.
I don't even think we reported on all the scandal going on at the Newark airport right now, that there's only like 1 or 2 air traffic controllers working when there's supposed to be over 10 people working or something, which is extremely worrisome, and they're working overtime and they're tired. And is that what happened in this case?
I don't know. I don't even want to think about it. I know that sometimes people that call in like a New Jersey radio station stuff are now saying that they drive all the way to Philly so they don't have to leave out of Newark, which is, it's just kind of scary. But I don't like talking about it, because it's like sometimes you have to go on a plane and you don't want to be like thinking about this, because I think all of us are so scared, because we're like, oh my God, if we're actually on a plane that something happens, like, you're going to be forever traumatized. And how are you ever going to get over that?
Well, I was actually telling 2 people that came to our meet and greet how I had inconvenient flight times because I have to fly Airbuses because I'm so paranoid. And then I ended up switching my flight last Sunday to a Boeing because I just like needed to get home earlier. And even when I was on it, I was just like a nervous wreck. And then they were making totally.
You're such a crazy person, because I don't even look at what plane I'm getting on. It's just kind of like, oh, this time's good, and that's it.
So then it was making totally standard dips in elevation or whatever in the altitude, and I just got that like drop stomach or feeling in my stomach, like when you go down a roller coaster or something. And I'm like, I hate this. I can't possibly imagine. Like there was that story a couple weeks ago that a plane dropped like over 20,000 feet or something in a couple of seconds.
Oh my God.
I would have a meltdown. There's no way I'd be able to deal with it.
I guess it's also scary too, because if you really do have a bad experience like that flying, obviously you're never going to get on an airplane again. And that really could change your whole entire life as far as traveling. And obviously, like for vacations and stuff, but also for work. I mean, there's only so far you could go in a car. I guess in theory, you can drive like to a lot of different places if you could go to where there's a waterway and get your car on a ferry somehow. And like, I think that there's a way that you can drive to South America somehow if you could get your car through the Panama Canal or something. I'm not sure that because I saw this thing once that said that this was like a really long road trip you can do to get through there, but I think you have to put your car on a ferry or something to get over there. But it's kind of interesting just how limited you would be not being able to get on an airplane ever again because you're scared.
No, totally. And I remind myself, I don't think I'm a nervous flyer per se, but I've been definitely since we've been doing this podcast. And I'm sure we're fear mongering the whole audience in some capacity. But I don't know. I don't really worry about it because, like, at the end of the day, there are thousands of flights every single day, and there's a couple incidents a year, right?
Yeah.
The ones we hear about are the most horrific ones. We're not going to hear about little problems,
No.
obviously. So I think that's important to note. And obviously, we'll keep eyes on this, but I don't think we're going to have any more information for at least a couple more years because these take so long to do. All right, so this guy brought his wife to get an MRI on her knee, and typically he went in the room with her to help her get up. This time he was wearing a 20-pound chain around his neck and got sucked into the machine and died.
Yeah, I don't know what happened in this case, but I'm thinking right now, just based upon what we've heard the wife say, because I don't think that the actual medical facility has put out a statement, but just based upon her side of the story, like they're in big trouble. I think that anybody that is a radiology tech that works in MRI knows the dangers of having anyone enter that room because the MRI machine is it's magnetic resonance imaging. It's used as a giant magnet. And even though they turn off the machine at the end of the night or whatever, like the magnet's always on and that field is always considered to be dangerous, which means you should not ever be bringing anything into that room that would be considered magnetic or could have any interaction with the machine. So, you know, you've had MRIs done. I've had MRIs done. Lucia's had a couple done. Every single time before you go, they ask you all of these questions to make sure that you have no metal inside of your body. Things that you might not even think about, like you know, we have our lip pierced, and sometimes you just don't even really think about it because it's there all the time and you don't even feel it. Make sure your jewelry's off, just everything. If I have bobby pins in my hair, you can't have that, this and that. So they really shouldn't be letting someone in the room in general to help anyone if they haven't been properly screened to make sure they don't have any metal on their body as well.
Yeah, I mean, when I got mine done in February, I literally, the tech did ask me a million times if I had anything on. I was like, no, I took everything off. But I realized like 2 minutes in that I didn't take my necklace off. I mean, this is like mid MRI in process. I realized this and I squeezed a little ball and was like, oh my God, my necklace is on. Because I wear it every day. I don't even feel it.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And she was like, I mean, at this point, it's fine. So just leave it on. Which I still feel like they should have taken me out, but whatever.
The thing is that if a necklace, a very thin, fine necklace, for example, could heat up and it could burn your skin. That's the extent of what would happen. It's not going to pull you into the machine and like kill you, right?
Yeah.
But this is just a very unusual circumstance. So this woman was getting an MRI on her knee, and she asked this is from her side of the story anyway. She asked the technician to come to go get her husband so he could go in and help her get off the machine. And they complied with that and went out and got the husband. Now, He just so happened to be wearing a 20-pound chain around his neck, which everybody, when I read that, I was like, what? What is that?
Well, he said he was wearing it for weight training.
For weight training. So apparently he had a conversation with the technician beforehand, because the technician was like, hey, dude, what's up with the huge chain around your neck? And he said he was using it for weight training. I don't know if they sell any products that are specifically geared towards that, but I do know oftentimes people put weights around their ankles or around their waist or anywhere so they could always be kind of losing weight, right? It just helps you with the more weight you have on your body, it could help burn more calories just doing normal things like walking around and stuff. I am visualizing it like I have this bike lock that's like a kryptonite bike lock that's a huge chain with a lock on it. I'm visualizing it to be that 20 pounds is a lot of weight. So he had this huge thing around his neck. Like, everyone in the world does not ever wear something like that, right? So this is just a freak occurrence that this guy's wearing this in the first place. But it's kind of alarming to me that a radiology tech, it wouldn't strike them in their mind to be like, oh, I had this conversation with this guy earlier because he has this huge thing around his neck. And you're looking at him, bringing him in the room, and see this large thing around his neck that no one wears ever. It's not like a thin necklace like your little necklace. It's a huge thing that's glowing, obvious metal. I don't understand why that didn't just trigger something in their mind to be like, you can't go in there. So the guy goes in the room, and I actually have this amazing video I found to show just how magnetic the MRI machine is, sucking in things like a folding chair, like as a projectile across the room. Gabe tells me all the time that the firemen have training too, that if they go into a hospital and there's a fire, they can't go in that room with their air packs or they will get sucked into the machine, and they know that for their training. You know what I mean? So this video is just showing it's really crazy. They put a pair of like surgical scissors on a ribbon and just hold it up, and it's pulling it into the machine. Like, you could see the magnet, how strong it is. So when the guy goes in the room with this thing around his neck, he gets pulled into the machine, and they can't get him off of the machine for an hour, the wife says. And during that time, just in this high period of stress, he had multiple heart attacks, and he ended up dying a couple days later. Now, I don't know, because the guy wasn't too old, but he could have had cardiovascular disease. So I don't know if he had a history of cardiovascular disease, or sometimes you could have an emotional response to stress and you could have a heart attack that way and arrhythmia that way as well. So it doesn't really matter whatever happened. Like, I'm just thinking, these people are in their 60s, right? Mom's in her 60s too. Like, think about mom and pop in the same exact situation. Like, everyday regular people that are going to get a medical test like this don't know the dangers of that machine, and it's the responsibility of the facility to make sure that the patients are protected.
No, because I read too that she kept asking them to turn it off, but that doesn't necessarily always shut the magnetic field off, right? Like, it takes some time.
And apparently, so I had talked about this in the gross room this week, actually, and we have a couple of radiology techs in there that said that if you turn off the magnet on the machine, it essentially breaks the machine, and it costs thousands and thousands of dollars to do that. So that's why it doesn't get just shut off at night like some people would think. And one of the radiology techs in the gross room was just saying they don't know why. They just think that maybe in the craziness of the actual the scenario of not expecting that they didn't shut down the magnet after that. She said, like, she doesn't really know what the circumstances are, why it took an hour. People might be scared that they're going to lose their job if they break that machine. I mean, those machines are hundreds of thousands of dollars. So,
I mean, I feel like if somebody got fired, though, for shutting it down when a man was in a critical condition, then
I mean, there's going to be a huge investigation into why, because obviously being under stress like that, imagine being stuck to a machine like that. Not only, I mean, he could have been hurt too, just from blunt trauma. Like, imagine your body being forced against a machine like that. I mean, it could have just it honestly could have triggered heart attacks too, just by blunt trauma across the chest like that. So we don't know the exact details, just based upon what the wife is telling us, but it's just really sad, and you hear this from time to time, and their job is really important, and it to make sure. I mean, that door, you should never. It should just be a rule that you don't even let people other than the patients themselves in the room.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, really, the technician could have helped her get out of the machine.
Yeah.
And they should be staffed to help people with that. So, God, it's just a terrible story, and I feel terrible for her having to to watch her husband die like that.
This episode is brought to you by The Gross Room.
So this week, Maria finished a high-profile death dissection on the Lamb funeral home scandal. That is like a really outrageous story. I can't even believe that happened. You guys have to just check it out because it's really disturbing. Some of the things, especially that we've been reporting on Mother Knows Death too, about these shady funeral homes and what they do to make more money, but this is probably the ultimate one that ever happened.
Yeah. I mean, we have mass cremations, organ harvesting, embezzlement, theft from the bodies, petty theft.
Possibly murder.
Possibly
I
murder.
couldn't even believe just the simple fact that you were saying that they were collecting gold from the people's fillings from their teeth and getting $20,000 to $30,000 a month just for the gold. And that was back, what year was that?
In the 80s.
In the 80s. So like that would be worth even so much more money today. Well, I don't know if the price of gold is up as high, but yeah, it's an outrageous story. So next week for our high profile or celebrity death dissection, I don't know. It's kind of up in the air right now. We have a couple stories that we're just holding on to that are older stories that aren't pressing. We have Brian Koberger's trial. What is that called? Appeal or
his sentencing hearing's tomorrow.
His sentencing hearing is tomorrow. So
even though last week they determined that the gag order is already lifted, I don't believe they're going to start releasing some stuff until after this hearing tomorrow. And then I think we're going to start getting flooded with information.
Yeah, so we just don't, obviously we're just waiting for that to happen because once we get more information about the bodies and the autopsies on those cases, we'll talk about that in depth. So we also have a new feature that we're going to start in the Gross Room this week. On Friday, we're going to start doing YouTube Lives. So we'll give you more information on what we're going to be doing during those. So check that out.
Head over to thegrossroom.com now to sign up.
All right. What do we got next? Oh, this case is freaking weird. This case is so weird. I had to read the story 3 times because I was just like, what is happening here?
It's very hard the way it's written to understand, but I hope I've reordered it a little bit so it makes a little bit more sense. I never understand this with news articles. They always start with the lead, right? And I understand they have to catch people, but then the way they backtrack makes it so confusing to understand what actually happened.
The particular article that we were looking at, I had to look up a couple more because I was just like, I have no idea what's happening right now.
So this is my understanding. In California, this couple brought their 2-month-old baby to the hospital with head injuries. The hospital then called police to investigate abuse, and when the police got to their house, they found 15 children, all under the age of 13. Then they discovered that there's 6 more children in the care of other family members, so we have 21 children in total. 17 of these children are under 3 years old. So you must be wondering, like, how? How is this even possible? Apparently, this couple owned a surrogacy business, and they were telling these surrogate mothers that they only had 1 child and that they were going to be helping a family in need who couldn't produce their own children. So they were hiring these surrogate mothers and then had all these children born via surrogacy and were raising them all together in this house.
So are they rich people? They have to be if they're paying, because they're paying these women like $60,000 a pop to do this, or were they scamming them out of money?
It's my understanding at this point in the investigation that the surrogates were paid, but they were lied to about the circumstances. So now they're being investigated for abuse. They reviewed cameras that were in the home and saw that they had all these nannies, and apparently the nannies were abusing the kids too. one of the nannies is being looked into for the reason the baby had head injuries, the one they brought to the hospital that like opened this entire investigation up. So now one of the mothers, since all the kids have been brought to Child Protective Services, is trying to adopt the child that she carried because she didn't understand the circumstances in which the kid was going to.
I don't know. This just seems kind of weird because think about this. Like, if you decide to get do surrogacy, that means that there's an embryo somewhere that is getting implanted.
Well, they owned a surrogacy business. So, like, in theory, they had the embryos in their custody. Because I was having a really hard time understanding this, too. Because I'm like, there's a lot of steps in place to do this. So, how are they doing it?
They own, like, an IVF clinic?
They have to in some capacity. Because how else are they getting all these surrogate mothers? Unless they're working in a partnership with a clinic and lying to the mothers about whose embryo it is or whatever.
Because I would think that a surrogacy business is just trying to get women to carry babies for people that can't carry their own baby. Like the whole science part of it, which you have to be physicians and everything like that to do IVF and retrieve the embryos or to retrieve the eggs and get the sperm and make embryos and all that stuff. Like that's being done somewhere else, and that's why I'm wondering like who's okay with that, because I can't imagine that one clinic would be getting do you understand what I'm saying? Like,
well, do
when
you
get egg retrieval and they're and your embryo and you have it made into an embryo and they're stored somewhere, doesn't the company want to know like what you're doing with those? If you like, let's say right now I had 20 embryos in that were frozen, like I could just have any random come in and put them in and not even ask like what's happening with them.
There's no way. There's so much legal and paper. I guess I don't know the legalities actually, because they did interview this woman who said that surrogacy was extremely unregulated business. So that's really
just the
concerning
carrying of the actual embryo.
No, I know that. So I'm saying like the scenarios I envision are either they're working with a corrupt clinic or a clinic that is turning a blind eye to letting all their embryos be implanted in these women, or they have all the embryos spread out amongst multiple clinics. And that's how they're doing it.
But they didn't mention anything in any of the articles about any of this. As
I know,
far as that
no, this is my
portion of
assumption.
it. Yeah.
Because the crime here is the child abuse, right? But we can't really glaze over like what's going on with all these children being born. And I guess, is it illegal?
It's like Hilaria Baldwin. Didn't she get pregnant and then have someone carrying a baby for her at the same time?
Yeah, like
she has like two kids that are like a month apart or something.
I guess the greater question here is it illegal? Let's say you were super rich and had the means to care for all these children and pay all the surrogates. Is it illegal to have 17 children at one time? Or can they not do anything about it because it's your baby, right? That's what I want to know. Or is this just like these people never imagined when IVF started coming about and surrogacy and everything? I mean, surrogates have been around for centuries, but you know what I mean with in vitro. That they didn't predict that anybody could have 17 children at one time, basically. And so there's no rules or regulations for it.
Any person in their right mind would say, why the hell would you want to have 17 children at one time? Even if you were rich and you had all the resources for babysitters and this and that, like why would that doesn't even seem like a rational decision for any human to make. But like we talk about this all the time. There's not a lot of rules put into place about certain things like that, because where do you draw the line? Like, we're going to talk about a person in coming up in another episode this week that has had 12 or trying to work on having 12 children. And it's like, obviously, like most people would be like, you're a crazy person, but like, where do you draw the line and say, okay, well, 6 is okay, but 7 isn't, or whatever? Like, they don't do that. So you just have to hope that people aren't going to abuse it. And since you're saying that surrogacy has been around for centuries, obviously prior to IVF, like what did they do in those cases? Because maybe there isn't an IVF clinic involved at all, and maybe it was just a woman getting paid $60,000 to have sex with a guy and have the baby and give the baby to them.
Well, yeah, that's how it used
I
to
guess
work
that
back in the day. I mean,
so is
IVF's
that
only
is that a possibility that's what happened in this case?
I guess it's a possibility, but I don't think with modern surrogacy that's I don't know
Like, are
because I
those
don't know
kids
the law.
genetically their children?
It appears they are. Unless they're stealing embryos or getting donated embryos. But think about this.
But
Now,
even if you got the donated embryo, somebody has to put it inside the person. You can't just do that if you don't know what you're doing.
I'm now all right, now that the conversation's developing a little more, I'm thinking about this. I'm going to say there's no regulations about how many like I can't fathom somebody having 17 embryos to use, give or take in a 3-year period, right? But it happens to some people. Some people get a lot. So let's say there's no regulations as far as how many, because how are you going to put a number on that? And then I'm thinking of Octomom. Didn't they put 12 embryos in her at one time?
They put a lot in her, but that was considered I think the actual implantation, there are regulations as far as how many get implanted, just because
Well,
that's
now
a
there
risk.
are, but I don't think there
Yeah.
were when she got.
That's
I think the regulations are in place now because of cases like her where they put 12 in and then she ends up having 8 babies at one time, because that's not only just like ridiculous, but it's very dangerous for the mother to have to go through that. So I think I would say now the average is probably the most you could put in is 2, probably for twins, right?
Yeah,
They're not
but
going
what
to
you're
let you put
saying,
in a
if
lot.
there was, let's say in that woman's situation, if there were 12 different women willing to each get one embryo put in them, is that legal?
I'm going to say probably yes, because I think it's just a blind spot in the industry.
Yeah, it's probably more like ethical versus legal. Like any well-respected practice would be like, I'm not doing that.
Well,
But
yeah, but
like
if you
there's
go
always
to a
somebody
shady
that,
clinic, then
yeah.
they're not gonna give a shit. I hope not. I hope, because I know that's probably an emotional thing. If we have a listener that has gone through this and used a surrogate, please tell us how it went down for you. Like, what did your paperwork say? How did the process go of finding a person? How did the clinic connect with the person? Did your clinic offer the surrogate? I'm very curious how that works in that case. And I'd like to hear from somebody that personally went through it.
Yeah, me too.
I don't know, but I guess in this case, I mean, the crime in itself is the child abuse.
Yeah,
But
and this shaken baby syndrome that this kid has that is terrible actually. It's really a very very serious form of child abuse. We wrote a high profile death dissection about this in the Gross Room years ago. It happens to 3,000 kids a year, which is a lot, and it's caused by a frustrated parent, usually a male in most cases, but women do it too. But like, you're going to increase the risk of being frustrated with a baby when you have 20 of them around you, right? That are all the
Yeah.
same age, by the way, which is just so bizarre. But 25% of the babies that have shaken baby syndrome will die, and up to 80% of them that do survive are going to have long-term problems with their brain, cognitive, developmental. They could even have like physical disabilities like cerebral palsy and stuff. 80% of the survivors. Like, it's just a terrible form of child abuse, and the fact that that person is doing it to one child, it's probably been done to other children as well that are in their care.
Well, I think that's why all the kids just got taken for now, because they found video from inside the house showing the abuse happening. And like you're saying, I'm sure it happened to other people. Also, I wanted to bring up this quote from the article from this woman, Callie Fell. She's the executive director of the nonprofit Center of Bioethics and Culture. She was saying it smells of trafficking, child trafficking. What are the intentions of having that many children at home through these assisted reproductive technologies? And that's the same question we have. Why would you want to have that many kids? I understand wanting to have a large family, but it is extremely unusual to have this many children back to back.
Did they show a picture of the house or anything that was raided?
I feel like I
saw
saw something.
Yeah, because it's just I'm just curious. Like the whole entire thing is just so bizarre to me of having money like that to be able to give people, and I don't know.
But
And
that's
yeah,
it.
of course these women, I mean, being a surrogate is it I don't know anybody that's ever done it, and I've never done it myself, but I imagine it's a very there has to be some kind of emotional detachment, and most people decide to do it because it's really good money. Like getting $60,000 is a lot for somebody. It could pay off a portion of your house. It could pay off your student loans, and they want to do it for the nice money, but they also want to do it because they want to help somebody that can't have a baby. So you understand that women want to do it, but there's also, even though they're getting paid for it, when you carry a child, there's still going to be some emotional attachment to that child. And knowing that you give birth to this child and hand it over to someone and they're not treating it well, that would make me want to try to get it back too.
Well, of course, I think if that ends up working out for that person, that they deserve to take that child because like clearly they didn't. They were deceived in what was going on behind the scenes, and they're sitting there thinking like, oh, I'm helping out a family that can't naturally have a baby, they only have one other child, only to find out no, they really have 20 plus children sitting at home that are getting abused. So if you could at least give one or some of those kids a shot at a better life, somebody should definitely be trying to do that. Also, I want to say $60,000 is low for a surrogate to
I
be
think it is.
paid. On average, they make between $100,000 to $200,000.
Yeah. And I think, I mean, they're probably taking advantage of women that are in a really shitty situation. Because it might like listen, I'll take $60,000 if you want to give it to me, right? Because it will drastically help pay something off in my life, right? But when you're talking about doing something like that, because being pregnant is not fun, it puts your life at risk. It's not a benign condition. You can die from it. You could get seriously injured for the rest of your life from it. I would want it to be significant amount of money to be like, oh, it's actually paying off my house or it's paying for my kids to go to college, like a huge bill. And now it's like $60,000 is as much money as it used to be, which makes me think if they're lowballing these women, it's like they're finding desperate women, and that's also not cool.
No, not at all. I mean, it's totally deceiving. I'm really curious what what an investigation's gonna show up about what's going on behind the scenes. Because obviously they were looking into the child abuse, but this is so bizarre, and I need to now research all the laws behind this. I just want to say it's probably like a blind spot in the industry
Yeah,
because
I'm sure.
they would think no normal person in their right mind wants 17 3-year-old or younger
Oh my
running
God.
around their house. All right, so a rare flesh-eating bacteria is concerning people in Florida after 4 people have died and over half a dozen people are sick. So, do you want to explain this?
Did you see I did a post on my Instagram story of a screenshot from Newsweek, and it said viral flesh-eating bacteria kills 4 in Florida, and then the first 2 lines of the sentence say a bacteria called Vibrio, and I'm like, dude, please, I can't stand the news with their calling shit a virus and a bacteria. They're 2 totally different things, but
I
that's
did see that you post that.
God,
I was going to ask.
it's just so sloppy, and it drives me nuts. And when they write an article like that, you're just like, it's just a person that doesn't know what they're talking about. But then you're like, well, then just don't write it if you don't know what you're talking about. Anyway, it's a bacteria that thrives in salt water conditions in nice warm water. So it's very common in the Gulf, especially in the South. And what happens is that, especially with the way that the temperature goes in, that the ocean water is increasing in temperature and stuff, if there are a lot of hurricanes, it could stir up that warm water and kind of pull it up more north, like towards us. Not all the way towards us though, but you could see these kinds of infections like in the Carolinas and stuff too, just because like warmer water is coming up. So these bacteria, not viruses, bacteria thrive in this saltwater environment. So there's 2 different ways you can get an infection. Number 1 is you can somehow eat it, ingest it. So this could be as simple as water going up your nose in an area where this bacteria is, or specifically, this is why they tell you not to eat like raw oysters, which are my absolute favorite. And I always keep this in the back of my mind, but I still eat them because they're just so good. And I can't give it up. I'm sorry. And you just have to hope that, so most people, when they get exposure to this bacteria, they don't get really that sick from it because your immune system works great. But in some cases, people, especially that don't have great immune systems, I'm not sure about the 4 people who died in Florida, but there's a likelihood that they could just be like old, and just because old people, a lot of old people are retired there in Florida. But you can also get it if you have so the bacteria, like if you're just swimming in water that has Vibrio, you can't get it through your skin. But if you have a cut on your leg, it could go in that way, and then you can get necrotizing fasciitis, which is also called flesh-eating bacteria.
So they're saying with this that the common symptoms include diarrhea, stomach cramps, nausea, vomiting, and fever. Isn't that the same thing with most problems you could have? Like, how are you supposed to differentiate if you have this flesh-eating bacteria versus another just
Well, I think
normal
that's
GI bug?
if you ingest it. That would be your symptoms. But
Okay.
if it goes in through one of your wounds, you know it because it looks really nasty. Because it's called necrotizing fasciitis. Necrotizing means dead. So the bacteria is killing the tissue. So let's say, for example, you were shaving your legs and had a big cut on your leg, and then you go in the ocean and you have an exposure to this bacteria and it gets in there. All of a sudden, it's going to start looking really angry. It's going to be red, swollen, hot to the touch, and then the wound, the initial like shaving wound that you had, will start turning black, and it's going to look like, oh, I better go get this checked out. The unfortunate thing is that people die within a day or two of this, and of this infection, and it's very deadly. So if you don't go and get it checked out like right away, it could be really, really bad. There's only Fortunately, there's only 150 to 200 cases a year. But if it gets into your bloodstream, either from the infection of you taking it in your body and having this diarrhea, or from getting it from the wound, it's 50% cases are fatal. So
But
it's
overall,
really scary.
it's scary, but overall, it's still pretty rare, right?
Oh, it's so rare. 150 cases a year is like nothing.
No. Like
And
in
like,
the
listen,
billions of people
people
alive.
are exposed to it all the time. Like I said, it's just like it's an opportunistic infection. It just means that you have to have the certain conditions, and your body just has to be able to not fight off this particular bacteria. And I guess it's more scary because people in Florida, you hear like you're in Florida and you want to swim in this ocean because it's beautiful, right? It's like clear blue water, and then you hear 4 different people died from it. And but like I said, I would just like to know what the situation was around that, because I don't even know if they said it was people from swimming, or if it was from a particular part of the water, or if it was from particular oysters that came from a certain area.
All right, let's move on to our true horror story, last story, which is on a 7-day royal cruise going from LA to Mexico. Over 4,000 people were on board, and 140 of those people got sick with a GI bug and had to quarantine in their cabins.
So, does everyone on the boat have to quarantine, or just the people that are sick?
I think just the people that are sick, but
They
wouldn't it be better if everybody did?
No. Who would that be? Who would that be better for? The people on the cruise? I'm just curious, like, if we just, let's say the cruise that we just went on, let's say like a couple of us got it. They're going to make us stay in our room the rest of the trip, right?
Yeah.
Are we getting our money back? That they're not letting us leave the room?
No, because it's probably one of those things
That you like signed
in
with
the
contract?
ticket.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Because this is what that's
No,
that's
screw
where
that.
they tried to legally try to get people on the poop cruise, because there was something in the contract they signed that they weren't responsible if something like that happened, right? But I guess since that happened, they've changed laws. But I'm gonna say this is one of those things, like, it's not our fault, so you're beat, basically. Even though I do agree you should get at least some of your money back. But I found it interesting because I think a YouTube subscriber or somebody in the gross room had said that they purposely don't sell Imodium in the little store on the cruise because they want you to have to go to the medical center to report if you're having diarrhea.
Oh, that's interesting.
so they could try to contain it. Although sometimes, like, not to blow up my husband's spot, but he just has chronic poop issues, and like it doesn't necessarily mean he has a virus. He just like always
Well,
has to poop, and he
yeah,
eats.
I know, but the thing is that when you have one of these particular, I mean, like it's probably neurovirus. They haven't said what it is yet, but that is most commonly what it would be. When you have that, you're like peeing out of your butt for 2 days straight. It's just a lot different than like your classic, like, oh, I ate something bad, got diarrhea thing. So if you just couldn't keep it down for days in a row and you're getting to the point where you're becoming like chronically dehydrated and it's you need medical attention, that's what they're talking about. And really, like, Imodium is not good. Like, you should let it flush out of your system anyway. So, but I understand that if you're on a trip, obviously you would want to take that to make it stop.
The thought of having norovirus in that bathroom, especially, I mean, your bathroom was a little bit of an upgrade from mine because I had like the most basic room, but it's the smallest bathroom ever. It's so tight in there. You could feel the boat moving the most in the bathroom. The thought of having norovirus and being stuck in there while you're like
In
shitting
the
your
room.
brains out, throwing up everywhere in that tiny ass room. Oh my
My
God,
I would
worst
I
nightmare
would have been
ever.
able I think I could have been fine in my room because I had the balcony, but my mom had the balcony like deluxe room, and that room I could totally stay in for the rest of the trip and just relax.
Yeah, because
Especially
that
if
was
they
like
were
a
delivering
suite.
me food and shit. I'd be like, "Okay."
Yeah, because that was like a suite. But oh my
Yeah.
God. There's nothing worse than being sick when you're not in your house, let alone being in the middle of the ocean, the waves moving. Oh my God. That must just make it so much worse.
Yeah. So, I mean, we lucked out because this was the Royal Caribbean. We went on a Royal Caribbean too. I guess we should just say that we're lucky. The trip was, we didn't have any problems like that, luckily. But for these people, totally sucks.
All right, let's move on to questions of the day. Every Friday at the Mother Knows Death Instagram account, you guys can head over to our story and ask whatever you want. First, what's your favorite organ based on appearance? This person says theirs is the pituitary because it looks like a little pumpkin.
It does, actually. I'm just kind of boring. My favorite organ on appearance is the heart. I just love it so much.
You're such a basic anatomy
I am
bitch.
I am. I don't I like the heart anatomically too. It's very interesting for me. But it's just funny you ask that because we have like all of us that work in this field are like, what's your favorite organ to look at? What's your favorite? But like, I think my favorite organ system is probably the GI tract. But like, as far as like what looks go, anatomic heart, I just like it. I'd wear it on a t-shirt. Like, I just like the way it looks. But I can appreciate that you like the little pumpkin.
All right, what is the rarest specimen you've ever received?
This is a really hard one to say. Because I've seen so many different cool things, and you know how we always say, like, sometimes we'll be at a family party and people will say, like, what are you talking about on the podcast? And we're like, I don't know, even though we had like 20 stories the last week, right? It's like, I've been trying to think about like different cool things that we've gotten in surgical pathology. Obviously, like a uterine didelphys or a double uterus is cool, but I have seen a couple of them, so it's not, I guess it wouldn't be considered super rare. We did get a quadruplet placenta once, and that was cool. And I don't know if a lot of people get to see that in their career. Um, I've gotten a cutaneous horn, which, and it was not like a little tiny one. It was like a unicorn horn that someone was walking around with on their head. So that was kind of cool. Andrea had that brain abscess I told you from toxoplasmosis. So that was cool. Um, I'm just trying to think like I mean, the like I told you guys I've seen a horseshoe kidney at autopsy. That was super cool.
Do you have
Um
like a dream specimen you want to see?
well, I have a dream autopsy, which is situs inversus, which is when your organs are like mirror imaged on the other side. So I would really like to see that, and I've never seen that. I think CRISPR has.
Oh,
Um
wow.
yeah, cuz she works in the children's hospital, so that would just be like more common to see. So yeah, I would definitely like to see that. Like, I've seen so much of a lot of the different things that I would like to see. Obviously, I'm just trying to think if there's anything else that I really just like haven't seen. I mean, obviously, I would like to see like neurosyphilis or something, but like, what are the chances of that happening in this decade? I mean, I don't know. Syphilis is on the rise apparently, so maybe we will see it. But
And the plague, we're like going right back to
yeah.
where we started. It's kind of
Well,
crazy.
syphilis is my favorite STD. So
All right. Do you guys dress alike on purpose?
no, not really.
I
mean,
it's
like,
hard to say because today, so this question comes up, and today we're like accidentally complimentary pastels, right? But you would
but
never
we
in your
don't.
life
We
wear
never.
blue.
No, I only wear certain colors, and blue is not in my colors.
And not these dumb colors everybody's paying $300 to get. Let's talk about that scam of the century. People
Oh,
are
getting your
draping
colors done.
People are draping napkins on people's shoulders and telling them these colors look good on them. Anybody that has basic color theory can tell you that. And guess what? Most of the people I see that do these colors aren't correct with the skin tones. It's not right. They're not flattering colors to go with that person. Don't pay $300 to get it done. If you're doing
No,
it and
listen.
scamming $300 people for $300, good
for you. No, listen. I don't agree with Maria on this because I think I'm not. I don't really. I don't really ever say that I'm good at anything in my life because I'm not. But one of my special powers, I should say, that I have is that I'm very good with color. Like, I have a special vision, I think, that like a lot of people don't have when it comes to color and seeing color and what goes together and things like that. It's it's just something I have. And I appreciate that other people can't see that. Like, I could walk into a room and undress it with my eyes and visualize things that I feel like other people can't do that necessarily. It's just like my specific artistic talent. So when people want to get their color done and stuff, I understand that because people just genuinely like they don't see it that way because they're not artists.
Listen, and I agree with you, but I'm saying the people doing the colors also don't know how to do the colors. So then it's like the blind leading the blind on the color.
Because isn't it like
you need
isn't
people
it kinda
like you to do that job.
Isn't it kind of like a mom job? Like, it's like, oh, you could make this extra money and not have to like go to an actual job kind of thing. It's like one of those trending.
All right, listen, I think
I
I'm
know-
going to start doing it.
Well, I think that it's an art, and I think that people would be good. Someone like me couldn't do it because I don't think that I would be good for it with other people. I just think it because people come to our house all the time and they're like, please help me decorate my house and this and
Yeah,
that.
but
And
you're not-
everything works for me for my particular life, but not
You're
for-
not styling somebody in outfits to their taste or their body size. Like, you're straight up looking at like their skin tone and telling them what colors are complementary with their skin tone, which I think you would be really good at.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think, but I don't down people that want to get it done because they just don't. They don't know.
No, I don't. I just think people are getting scammed. I understand wanting to do it, but I think you really got to go to somebody that knows what they're doing. Because, like, a lot of people doing it have no idea what they're doing. And I see their, like, example pictures they're posting, and I'm like, what happened? Like, who told you this? Anyway.
Going back to dressing, we don't like call each other before an episode and say, what are you wearing? Like, ever.
No.
But I mean, we kind of dress. You have a different style of dressing for sure, but I always wear. I have like 4 colors that I wear. So, and one of them is black and one of them is white. So it's like
your whole, like, I try to match the backdrop here, right? Because I don't want it to be visually bad for YouTube.
Yeah, and you in person you wear like Kelly green, and like I would never wear Kelly green ever, not on the show or in real life. But you do, and you wear like orange, and I would never wear orange, like stuff like that. So you dress a little bit more toned down for the YouTube, but
yeah, because I want to match. Because I'm not gonna wear like a bright. I mean, I have a shirt that I've worn on here before that has orange in it, but there's other colors that take away from it. But
orange is the worst color in the rainbow.
That's what you think.
Next
Today,
to green.
Today
Okay.
I'm wearing a light blue shirt, but you would never even wear something like this, even though it's pastel. It matches
No.
the backdrop.
No.
God forbid. But no, we have similar styles, but you're your defined color palette, and you also dress very like similarly. Like all your stuff looks the same. When you look at your wardrobe, it looks like it's from one set collection, not like mine's all over the place. It
Well,
looks
that's
crazy.
that's another thing. Let's talk about like my color thing, which is a good positive artistic trait I have. I don't have it at all when it comes to dressing. Like I could dress and like look normal and get by. I don't think I dress terrible, but I don't dress good. I used to work with a doctor. She used to mix patterns and print like all this shit, and she just looked so awesome every day. I was like so jealous of the way she dressed. I don't really know how to explain it, and it's like a skill that people have that know how that you could go in a closet and just like know what goes good together and walk around and dress well, like Carrie in Sex in the City or something like that. Just like wear like things that nobody would ever think to put together that just work, right? I don't have that even a little bit. Like I have no idea, and I am very envious of people that could dress like that.
I think though you look really put together. I think when it's crunch time, like you have a live event or something, you know how to dress really well. I just think every day we don't have anywhere to go or anything to do, so why are you just not going to wear a t-shirt
Maybe
and
it's just because
jeans?
I'm lazy. Like I guess I could, in theory, wake up every day and put. I have enough clothes to look nice every day, but I just too lazy, I guess.
I'm definitely lazy because I open my closet all the time and I'm like, I have all these nice clothes in here, yet I choose to look like a total slob every day of my life. So,
Well, to my defense, when I'm done recording, I'm like going to cook dinner and get dirty and go outside and like work in the garden, and I guess I'm just too lazy to get undressed again.
but to answer the question, we don't dress alike on purpose. We have similar styles, and I do try to match the color of our branding, which happens to be your personal color palette. But on a regular basis, if you see us out in public, no, I'm usually wearing an extremely bright colored shirt, and she makes fun of every outfit I wear. So that's how that goes. All right, guys, we are going to be at CrimeCon in Denver, September 5th to September 7th. There's some tickets left for that, so you want to make sure to check that out because,
Yeah, my lecture's so good too.
yeah, the
I will
lecture is
say,
incredible.
yeah, I'm almost done it, but I think that everybody's gonna like it. Again, it's gonna be a situation where, maybe 20% of the room is leaving because of the graphic nature of some of the things I'm showing and talking about. But
And even though you give the warning, people aren't prepared, and there's always people
you
like
know,
trickling
yeah,
out.
it's. I think especially a lot of people think that they could see these images, and then when they see them, they're like, it's very overwhelming. So, but a lot of people that have obviously have been knowing my thing for a while are totally fine with it.
Yeah, but we're going to be there. Cheryl's going to be there. Joseph Scott Morgan, Nancy Grace, Tom Smith of the Gold Shields podcast,
Oh,
Matt
I can't wait to
Murphy.
hang out with Tom. We got to get Lauren Conlon to come somehow.
I know. We're going to bully her into coming.
We should just like tell her to bring her kids and tell mom to babysit them or something. All the kids. We'll have a daycare in one of the rooms or something.
Honestly, I feel like Mama would enjoy that. She genuinely likes children
She really does. She's really an adult that loves children and animals.
Even when we were at their house the other day, I was looking around, and when you look around their house, it's like all pictures of her grandchildren. Like, she is the stereotypical cute grandmother that has every craft they've ever made her hung up, every picture of them on the
Which
wall.
I'm so terrible that we were just talking about this. My next door neighbor was over, and she's one of my friends. We were talking about like the kids were showing all of their paintings, and they were saying something like, "Oh, you have to say that because you're my mom," and I was like, I never tell you that something's good if it's not good. Like if you do a painting and I don't like it, I will not hang it up in my house.
And
But
she means that.
I won't, because I'm not gonna like they that's how you get better as a person, when you're telling your kids like they're not doing good at something if they're not. I'm not going to just like blow smoke up their ass just because like, just because I'm their mom or whatever. But I have lots of their stuff hanging up because it's awesome. But just like every single thing they do, I'll be like, you could do better. You could fix that or something like that. So that's what's funny. But my mom doesn't. She just like some of the stuff I saw hanging up at her house. I was just like, God, this is so crappy. Like, why does she have this hanging up still? But
because she's just such a grandma.
she is. It's not like fake. You know how some people like try to act like on Facebook that they're like this person or whatever.
Yes.
And, like hers is like genuine. And the kids know it because whenever she comes around, they like run right to her.
Yeah, of course. She's very much one of those I mean, she calls me like every day. I talk to her every single day. And I have like my entire life. She does the same thing with Dee Dee and she does the same thing with the kids. And like they love her.
Yeah.
She's not one of these hands-off grandparents that's on Facebook like best grandma ever, but you haven't seen your grandkids in 6 months.
Yeah.
All right. Well, please leave us a review on Apple or Spotify and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you have a story for us, please submit it to stories@motherknowsdeath.com.
See you next time, guys. Thank you for listening to Mother Knows Death. As a reminder, my training is as a pathologist assistant. I have a master's level education and specialize in anatomy and pathology education. I am not a doctor and I have not diagnosed or treated anyone, dead or alive, without the assistance of a licensed medical doctor. This show, my website, and social media accounts are designed to educate and inform people based on my experience working in pathology so they can make healthier decisions regarding their life and well-being. Always remember that science is changing every day and the opinions expressed in this episode are based on my knowledge of those subjects at the time of publication. If you are having a medical problem, have a medical question, or are having a medical emergency, please contact your physician or visit an urgent care center, emergency room, or hospital. Please rate, review, and subscribe to Mother Knows Death on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or anywhere you get podcasts. Thanks.